This is according to Pro Football Focus. Intriguing players to know for training camp. The Browns, they say Grant Delpit. They kind of lean on the last 5 games. A strong PFF grade, 75.8. Can play deep safety, close to the line. And he really did show signs of being the kind of guy they thought when they traded up to get him in the second round of the draft. Of course, coming off the Achilles injury. What do you think? What can we expect from Grant Delpit? Maybe that's the best way to ask that.
I'm fully interested to figure out what we can expect from Grant Delpit because, again, this was a fantastic prospect coming out of LSU before that ankle injury that he had, right? This all kind of started with the ankle injury his last year at LSU, and it kind of trickled into this Achilles situation. And he's not been the same. But if you go back before he had those injuries to 2018, he was not just the best defensive player in the country at the safety position. I mean, it's hard when you have had a predecessor like Jamal Adams at LSU, and people aren't comparing you to Jamal Adams, the guy that was great before you, or even Tyrann Mathieu. They're jumping all the way to Ed Reed because you played so well at such an early age. That's how good Grant Delpit was before this injury. If he can get anywhere close to that, and JOK can develop like we expect him to, fully expect him to, then the stuff that I'm worried about in interior might not be a problem, right? Because you might just be so dominant in the back end that it does not matter as much what's going on in the front. But Grant Delpit is the key to that, right? Because if you then don't have that version of a player, right, with Grant Delpit, you also don't have a super athletic, rangy safety that you feel comfortable giving a lot of space to, right? You have John Johnson, he's not super athletic. You have Ronnie Harrison. We've seen what happens when you give him more space to operate in. It's not necessarily good. If you want to see proof of that, go watch the Chargers game from last year, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But if Grant can handle getting that much space, then that frees up a lot of DBs to be closer to the line of scrimmage, or at least closer to that area where quarterbacks would scramble or in the flat, and then you could just smother teams like that. But that will require Grant Delpit being, the guy that we saw in 2018. Don't know if that's in him in the NFL level, but if it is, then we might be able to make the playoffs. Maybe even go to the second round, third round, fourth. Who knows with Jacoby Brissett? Jacoby Brissett might have the year of his life if the defense has a Grant Delpit playing up to his potential, because that's the thing that puts this whole thing over the top on the defensive end of the ball.